Viewers, welcome to Science Spectrum. You're welcome to the second part of the first lecture in the Fundamentals of Biology with course code 190. Alright, now we'll proceed from where we stopped from the previous class, and that's in the classification of living organisms. Okay, so let's just do a quick recap. We defined what biology was, okay, just an overview of it. That it was the study of living organisms, okay, which entails microorganisms, plants, and of course animals. And then we defined life, okay, that's from my own glean ideas, a genetic material that is capable of carrying out some specific functions, right? And those functions, we call that the characteristics of living organisms, okay? Organization is one of them, reproduction and, okay, growth, development. We have sensitivity, respiration, okay, and the likes. Now, let's talk about, since we have a diversity of these living organisms, okay, they could amount to several millions or even billions of them, okay, because most of them are even yet to be discovered and they believe to exist on Earth today. So let's see how we classify the diversities, okay, of these living organisms. Now, modern biology places living organisms in series of groups arranged in hierarchy. So modern biology places living organisms in series of groups, okay, that are arranged in hierarchy, or we also call these ranks. Now, this series of groups, okay, whereby living organisms are placed through modern biology, and of course that are arranged in hierarchy or ranks, we call this, okay, taxa. We call this taxa, right? And of course, the study of the classification of living organisms, their principles, the rules that govern how they behave, we call that taxonomy. So from the word taxonomy is the study of the classification of living organisms, okay, the principles, right, and rules that governs their behavior, that governs them. Alright, or how they behave. So this is taxonomy. Now let's talk about these series of groups that are arranged in ranks or hierarchy, okay, whereby living organisms are placed, which we call taxa. So there are actually 7 of these taxas, okay, of this series of groups. Living organisms are being placed that are arranged in ranks. So right, there are 7 taxas, okay? There are 7 taxas, okay? Namely, so for one, we have kingdom. Kingdom is the first series of groups arranged in hierarchy, okay? Number 2, we have phylum. Phylum, that's the singular, phyla is the plural. We have the class. This is the third taxa. Okay, we have number 4. We have order, the other taxa. The 5th taxa, we have family. The 6th taxa, we have species, and species it refers to specific names, okay? we assign to living organisms that have similar behaviors, okay, or that can interbreed. Then the last but not the least of the taxa is genus. Is the genus, and genus is just a generic name. Okay, we call or we assign to living organisms. So basically, there are 7 of these taxa, right? And I'll start off with the first taxa. Okay, that's the kingdom, right? The kingdom taxa. And let's look at somewhat more detail now, okay, of right, the kingdoms in which living organisms are placed. Then we'll talk more about the phylum, okay, class, order, family, species, and genus in somewhat more detail. All right, you need to wipe this off. I need to rub this off. You need to view this for a while, okay? And if you're viewing, you may likely want to screenshot, okay, while I clean this up. All right. So if you're new to the channel, there are lots of interesting topics coming up shortly in biology. That's biology 190. So you want to like, share this to friends, your colleagues, and you want to subscribe to this channel. Thank you. Alright, so let's start with the first taxa now. That's kingdom. That's kingdom. Now, by the way, this classification of living organisms, okay, lots of biologists, starting off from, okay, Carl Linnaeus, who happened to be a Swedish naturalist, okay, was the first to, okay, introduce the binomial system of naming, okay, that's the binomial nomenclature, whereby you assign the first name of a living organism, okay, you assign the species, okay, as the first name, that specific name, then you also attach the genus, that's the generic name, okay. So Carl Linnaeus was the first. Then the likes of Whittaker, okay, also did lots of work in classifying living organisms. Then we also have Woos, okay. So they all did lots of research, okay. All right, so let's talk about the kingdom now. There are basically 5 kingdoms, okay, of the living organisms. So there are 5 kingdoms, okay, in which living organisms are placed, in which living organisms, okay, in which living organisms belong. Living organisms belong, okay. All right. Namely, belong. Namely. So let's talk about, okay, the kingdoms now. The first kingdom is the kingdom, okay, whereby the first living organisms that we believe to have evolved, okay, actually belongs to, and we call that the kingdom prokaryotes. Kingdom prokaryotes, right? And of course, under these prokaryotes, we'll talk about, okay, I will give more detail on this. There are 2 groups of the prokaryotes. The first were the set of living organisms that were believed to have evolved about 3,500 million years ago, okay? And we call that the archaea. We call that the archaea bacteria, okay? Archaea bacteria. So these were the first, okay? So these were the sets of living organisms, okay, that were believed to have lived 3,500 million years ago, right? Then the second group of the prokaryote is actually the eubacteria, and of course this eubacteria, you find the blue-green bacteria here, or you find, okay, or we also call that the cyanobacteria. So example of this, you have cyanobacteria, okay, also called the blue-green bacteria, okay. All right. Then this is the first kingdom. Okay? The second kingdom now, I'm going to rub this up. So the second kingdom, just an overview, and I'll talk about each of them independently. So the second kingdom is the kingdom Protoctists. The kingdom Protoctists. Okay? You want to stick in an A here, Protoctista, as you like it. Now, in this Protoctist, there are two groups here basically. We have the algae, okay? And we have the protozoans. Okay? Protozoans. So, under the algae, we have an algae is just a general name, okay? For organisms in this kingdom, okay? Belonging to the chlorophyta. So we have the chlorophyta under the algae, okay? We have the rhodophyta. Rhodophyta belongs, okay? It's just a general or a collective term for prototists that belong to these groups. The last one we have the phaeophyta. Now, the same goes with the protozoans. Protozoan is just a generalized name, okay, or a collective term, okay, referring to the flagellates, okay, the filaments, okay, and of course the sporozoans, right? So I give an example of an algae. We have the bladderwrack. Example of an algae, we have the bladderwrack, okay, the bladderwrack. All right, now examples of the protozoans, okay, that comes under these categories. We have paramecium. This is where your euglena, okay, your euglena paramecium, okay, your spirogyra, okay, and the likes, okay, comes into. All right, so we'll talk more about a few of the other kingdoms. I may need to wipe this part off, right? You likely want to give this for a while. Okay, let me, okay, I could write it here. All right. So the third kingdom, kingdom 3, the third kingdom, okay, is the fungi kingdom, right? I'll talk, okay, about this if someone needs it later. But let's look at the fungi. Examples of living organisms you find in the fungi kingdom, okay? You have the mushroom. You find the mushrooms here, okay? You find the mold here, okay? And of course, the yeasts also belongs to the fungi kingdom. The number 4, the fourth kingdom, we have the plant kingdom. Okay, examples of plants, organisms that you find, okay, in this kingdom. We have the mosses, okay? We have the ferns, we have the conifers, and of course the flowering plants. Then the last but not the least, that's the fifth kingdom now, okay, is actually, so the fifth kingdom is actually the animal or the animalia kingdom. So this is the animal kingdom. And of course in this animal kingdom, there are two, okay, categories on this. We have the invertebrates. Okay, animals without the backbone or spinal cord. And of course we have the vertebrates. Alright, so let me now talk, okay, about each of these kingdoms now independently. Alright. So you need to build this for a while I wrap this up. Alright, so let me proceed. So I'll start off now with the kingdom prokaryote. So one very characteristic about organisms you find in the prokaryote kingdom is, for one, it has to do with their cellular organization. Okay, their cells are not really organized, in the sense that it was first believed that this is a set of living organisms, right, that's evolved, okay, several millions of years ago. So let me start with the prokaryotes now. Prokaryotes. So the word prokaryotes simply implies that the cell is not well organized, okay? It implies, for one, that the DNA, okay, is not bound, so there is no nucleus, okay, or other nuclear materials, okay, that you find in these cells. You can't really find the chloroplast here. There is no chloroplast, right? And of course, the sites for aerobic respiration, which is the mitochondria, is also missing out here. So this is one very characteristic about the prokaryotes. So prokaryotes, we know them for one thing, okay, is that number one, I'll say this is the A part, okay, there is no nucleus, okay, no nucleus, okay, surrounding, or, okay, no nucleus surrounding, okay, the DNA. This is just a genetic material, okay, that carries most information about the living organisms you find in this kingdom. And of course, there is no double membrane bound organism. There is no double membrane bound organelles, right? Now see, cellulose is missing in the cell wall. So the cell wall does not have a cellulose, or does not contain cellulose, So cellulose, okay, helps to give the cell wall, okay, rigidity. But however, since the cellulose is missing out here, right, in a typical prokaryotic living organism, right, for example the bacteria, you could find out that a compound which, okay, is referred to as myelin, that's a combination of the polysaccharide and amino acid could take the place of the cellulose. So it does not contain cellulose. However, okay, myelin, I said myelin rather, murine I had made, okay. However, murine, which, okay, consists of polysaccharide, okay, and amino acid, okay, could replace the cellulose, okay, the cellulose that is missing in the cell wall, right? Okay, and of course, I need to wipe this up, right? Now we will talk, okay, about the size of a typical prokaryotic living organism. The size could range from half a micrometer to 10 micrometer, okay, in diameter of a typical, so it falls within that range of size. So the D part now, the size, okay, the size of a prokaryotic living organism, okay. Of course, it ranges from half a micrometer. By the way, micro simply implies, okay, a negative power of 10 to 6. So this is 10 raised to the power 6, 1 out of a million, or 0 with, okay, after the decimal point you have 5 zeros after 1. So range between 0.5 half a micrometer to 10 micrometer in diameter, okay. And of course, since there is no site for photosynthesis, okay, there is no chloroplast there. So E, okay, no, it's non, they are non, okay, photosynthetic. And of course, let me stick in this, okay, before I draw a typical prokaryotic living organism. Of course, there are no nuclear materials, okay, found there. No nuclear, okay, materials, right? Okay, or I could just say this way, okay. There is absence of endoplasmic reticulum, absence of endoplasmic reticulum, okay, and of course, okay, and the likes. All right, so let me now draw a typical prokaryotic living organisms, okay, with characteristics are just outlined to us, right? And of course, I would likely now, okay, want to switch now to the second kingdom. So we talked about the fact that you find two groups on this, in this kingdom, right? The first is the archaea bacteria. These were living organisms, okay, that we believe to have evolved 3,500 million years ago, before any other organisms, okay, evolved. Then of course we have the eubacteria. This is, example of this is your cyanobacteria, also called the blue-green bacteria. All right, so now let me, okay, I'll make a drawing of a typical prokaryotic living organism. Then I will outline special components there, okay? All right, so let's proceed. Can I roll this part? Which one do I write? Yes, I should clean up this first. So you need to leave this for a while I clean it. All right. All right, if you're new to the channel, you want to like, share, and subscribe for more content. So one very characteristic of organisms that belong to the prokaryote kingdom is, for one, their cells are not properly organized, okay? There are some missing components there, and of course they don't have a nucleus, okay? So their DNA is not housed in the nucleus. And of course, another characteristic of prokaryotes is based on the fact that the cell wall, okay, does not have a double membrane organelle. All right, so now let me draw a typical. So this is not drawn to scale. Okay, so you may, okay, want to take note of that. All right, so I'm drawing a typical prokaryotic living organism. Okay, so you want to do this, okay, just to make this align. So I'm drawing a typical cyanobacterial, okay, the typical bacteria, right? Okay, all right. So let me this. All right. So you are free to, when the word membrane, okay, you are free to imagine a sac, okay, an open sac. Okay, you're just free to imagine an open sac for the word membrane. All right. So let's proceed. Then I have okay, the organelle, okay, by which it moves, and of course I could take this size, okay, to be, let's say, 1 micrometer, all right, in diameter. Okay. So let me just talk about a few of these components here, okay? All right. Now we have the infolding of the cell surface. Okay, so we have the infolding, okay, of the cell surface. So when the cell surface folds in, we call that the mesosome. Okay. This was actually meant to be where you find the mitochondria, that's the site for aerobic respiration. But since this typical cell is not properly organized, okay, the level of its organization is, okay, minimal. So the mesosome takes the place of the mitochondria. So the mesosome is simply the infolding, okay, of the cell, okay, surface. All right, which aids aerobic respiration. respiration. Alright, now we also have where food is reserved. So we have a food reserve here, a food reserve. Example of the kind of food you find here, we have lipids, that fat and oil. And this is the organelle, by which it moves. We'll call it the flagella. The flagella for plural, so I'm likely to use the word flagella for singular. Then this is the site, whereby nitrogen is fixed. So this is for nitrogen fixation. Right? Now then I have a secular DNA, just like so. So this is a secular DNA. The secular DNA, but of course you could see it's not housed in the nucleus. So a secular DNA that is not associated with either proteins or RNA. So it's totally out of here, right? Then we have this is the capsule. You may likely want to give this cell protection. So we have the capsule. There is pili here, likely for reproduction. Then and by the way, I need to say this, the cells of the prokaryotic living organism, they divide by either binary fission, or conjugation, or through conjugation. This is how the cells divide. Then we have let's see, this is the cell wall. So no cellulose, but there is a membrane, like I said earlier on, which is a combination of polysaccharide and amino acid, that would replace the cellulose. Then we have somewhere around here, we have 70th Wildbreak. So the unit for RNA, which is just a genetic material, it's not an organelle. So this RNA is called ribo. This RNA is ribonucleic acid. While DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. So the unit for this ribose, for RNA is 70 Wildbreak. Just say it's in Wildbreak, and we denote this by S. So we have 70 Wildbreak, of the ribosome. Ribosome is just the site, for the synthesis or the manufacture of protein. And of course, I could stick in other components here, but for the sake of time, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you're new to the channel, you want to like, share, and subscribe for more content. So this is just a typical prokaryotic living organism. Living organism. In this case, you have a typical bacteria. Thank you for tuning in. All right. Thanks.